Hello and welcome to the week that was right here on the Legal SA. My name is Thabo Makota. This is the week that was, where we discuss and analyze the biggest news stories that made headlines over the last week. I'm not alone. I'm joined by Mr. Ntokozo Mdlovu, who's a political analyst, as well as Mr. Sabelo Tiro, who's a financial analyst. Gentlemen, welcome. Are you well?
I'm well, thank you.
Well, gentlemen, to arrest Vladimir Putin or not to arrest Vladimir Putin, number one. Number two, do we have an alternate national government in the Western Cape?
Very funny, very funny. In terms of the second question, alternative government to the Western Cape, I don't think so. It's not in the constitution. We're not serving like states like the United States. We have one constitution for every place in South Africa. And in terms of arresting Vladimir, what do you think, Sabelo?
Look, arresting Vladimir is going to be a difficult task. As things stand, as signatories of the ICC, we should be arresting him.
Yes.
But do we have the capacity to arrest him?
Do we even want to arrest him?
Do we even want to arrest him?
As South Africa?
Ellen Rand seems to want to arrest him alone. I don't know if he has the capacity in the Western Cape. They cannot even stop gangsterism. I don't know how they are going to arrest Vladimir Putin.
Just on that point, Mr. Mdlovu, would you agree that the utterances of Ellen Rand, that he will move heaven and earth, do anything possible to arrest Russian President Vladimir Putin? Do you think that is actual policy of our DA or the DA in the Western Cape?
It is actual policy of the DA. If you check the history of basically the DA and the people who are actually running the DA, it's not surprising that they would not love Russia, because Russia, remember, as the former USSR, was actually supporting the people who was ending apartheid. So it is a historical hate for Mother Russia.
Now, Mr. Tiro, we know that the Russian Federation, or Russia itself, together with President Vladimir Putin, they have now accepted an invitation to attend the BRICS summit in August in Durban. They have accepted that invitation. So that means that President Putin is definitely for a threat coming to South Africa.
He's going to the ICC, not the International Criminal Court.
Yeah, he's going to the ICC in Durban. Our ICC. Now, gentlemen, what do we know about the Rome Statute?
Well, what we know about the Rome Statute, I think Mr. Mdlovu will even have better answers to that effect. But the little knowledge that I have about is that it's a group of countries that are saying, you know what, if there was issues of war with people that are in power in the country, the people in that country are able to then take those people into account. And that's when we take the people into court. We've seen this happen on so many occasions. I mean, these cases are always brought to the ICC and people stand trial. In 2020, we saw Al-Hassan, who was issued with a warrant of arrest in 2018 rather than in 2020, September. He stood trial.
I see Al-Hassan, President Al-Hassan.
President Al-Hassan, you know, we've seen it take place just last year with Wafali from Benghazi in Libya, who was arrested in 2020.
I think the general is one of the generals in Libya.
And who was arrested for a lot of war crimes. I mean, these things would have taken place even prior, but you would still stand trial and have to answer to them.
Just to come in there, Mr. Tiro. Now, news just in today that a further 51 South Africans have now been evacuated out of Sudan, conflict in Sudan. We know that in Sudan there's currently a conflict happening there between the two generals there who overthrew the former president in 2019, Omar al-Bashir. Those two generals who are currently fighting each other for control of the military. They are now fighting each other. 51 South Africans have now been evacuated, bringing the total to 61, because yesterday was 10 other South Africans who landed safely back in the Republic. So in Sudan there's currently a conflict. What does this say about what does this Rome Statute say about peace in the region? Now, for instance, what I'm trying to get at here, Mr. Mdlovu, is where or was Cyril Ramaphosa to actually unleash the military on the people of South Africa? Would he be capable or susceptible to justice from the ICC?
Yes. To explain in terms of the Roman Statute, 123 countries are signatories to the statute. It was signed in 1998 in Rome, and it's not only for us to actually be the judge to say, hey, Putin is a war criminal. It is to protect South Africans in case Ramaphosa unleashes his army against the nation, so that we can actually hold him to account and send him to The Hague and say that he is a war criminal. Now, as I said, South Africa is one of the signatories, but the big nations are not signatories, which is something that makes the Roman Statute very difficult to actually enforce.
So in the crux of it all, the Rome Statute with regard to the ICC is there to protect citizens across the world from crimes against humanity. That's what he's trying to say.
Yeah, crimes against humanity, genocide, war crimes, and crimes of aggression.
I see.
Yeah.
Now, Mr. Tiro, just to bring you in there, the Western Cape government, does it operate independently away from the government of the Republic of South Africa?
You know, the Western Cape government, and I think the division would come from them not being, from the Western Cape being the only province that was not run by the ANC for the longest time. I think the last time the DA government took over Western Cape was back in 1998. And that has made probably the DA to think that they are actually a constitution or a party on their own, which is independent from the South African constitution, and that is not the case.
Yes.
The governing party has to then decide to say, since we are signatories of the ICC, we are going to then arrest Putin, or we are going to withdraw from the ICC, or whatever the case. But the DA independently, they do not have such powers.
Oh, I see.
They are a provincial government, not a national government.
Not a national government. There are mandates that they can carry out provincially, but to arrest Putin over what the ICC says, no, they can't.
Mr. Mdlovu, let me bring you in there again. Under whose authority do police in the Western Cape and members of the South African National Defence Force who are stationed in the Western Cape, under which authority or under whose authority do those SSAPS members and SANDF members fall under?
The National Commissioner,
that's the police.
Yeah, the National Police.
And the SANDF falls under the authority of the CIC, the Command Agent. Which would happen to be who? Oh, I see. So now, what you're telling me, gentlemen, if I'm understanding correctly, Ellen Windy has no authority to command these forces, whether it's the SAPS or the SNDF, to affect the arrest of Vladimir Putin if the policy of the government of South Africa is not to arrest Putin.
He doesn't even have power of the Metro Police in Cape Town, because that's a private company run by a private company as well. So he doesn't have any power.
Yeah. Mr. Tiro?
So yeah, he wouldn't have any powers. Because I like to look at it from a reality point of view.
Yes.
If he wanted to execute such a big task as arresting Putin,
yes,
he would need, I should think, both the SAPS and the SANDF working in solidarity just for them to put Putin behind bars. Right? He doesn't have authority over both of them. Now I'd like to see a warrant officer Masemola, or going and saying, Putin, you are under arrest. I'd like to see that.
Which is something that's not very probable. It's not impossible, but it's not probable.
It's not probable.
Now,
and also, before you go further, I want to ask why there is not a warrant of arrest for George Bush, for Tony Blair, and also for Obama, who killed Muammar Gaddafi. because basically the invasion in Libya was actually a war crime. Libya didn't invade any other country, but NATO decided to invade Libya and basically kill the statesman of Libya. Now, imagine if that had to happen to a state like United States. That would be something that would actually make a world war. And even, let's say there's a warrant of arrest for George Bush, and George Bush is arrested. You know, there is a law in terms of United States that they are able to actually go into The Hague and rescue any sitting president or ex-president who has been arrested if they are actually convicted by the ICC. So what is the ICC if that can actually happen?
Of course, that means that the ICC now is rolling out its justice on a selective basis, if I'm correct. How do you have to say about that, Mr. Tiro?
I think that is the case, man. If we're talking about war crimes have happened right before our eyes. We've seen the United States. I think if the United States isn't the biggest, it's somewhere in the top 3 biggest countries that have actually affected a lot of lives and a lot of people. And a lot of people have passed away in their agenda. Could it be oil or could it be power? It doesn't matter how you look at it. But a lot of innocent people have passed away. A lot of presidents as well have passed away in their parts. But you know, the ICC being the police of the world, the ICC saying we are here to protect the people, they're very selective.
Together with the UN,
together with the United Nations, they're very selective. Because I should think if war crimes are happening, it doesn't matter where they are happening. You should at least say something about it.
What I find very problematic, Mr. Tiro, is that the America, the US, is not a signatory to the Rome Statute, the ICC. Russia is not a signatory to the Rome Statute, the ICC. Right? Now, in 2003, when America and Britain invaded Iraq, the UN released a report that there were no weapons of mass destruction that America was claiming to have found or was claiming to be present. America and Britain were claiming to be present in Iraq. Iraq and Britain anyway invaded Iraq anyway, and no one was held accountable for that. Meanwhile, both of these countries, America and Britain, are not signatories to this Roman statute. But the ICC never issued any warrant of arrest for President, by that time, it was President George Bush, as well as Prime Minister of the UK, Tony Blair. So what does it say now? Russia is not a member state of the Roman statute. But now the ICC has now issued an arrest warrant against this president of Russia.
I guess, Mr. Makota, it talks to the ICC being selective, being discriminated, because if you remember very well, they were riding on the fact that these people are not signatories of the Roman statute, and therefore we do not have to restriction to go and.
Which is the same thing now with Russia.
Which is the same thing now with Russia, but with Russia, they were quick to say there is an arrest warrant that has been issued, and countries like South Africa have to abide, and they need to arrest this person. But now, what are we saying? Now we're saying that we choose. As
we can choose.
We can choose
how to administer justice.
Depending if it's raining or if it's not raining, but whichever way, or depending on our mood.
Mr. Mdlovu, let me just ask you one question. Where does the ANC, we know that our government in the Republic of South Africa is currently being run and led by the ANC. Where does the ANC go from here? Because the ANC sees Russia as a very critical trading partner, habitually, traditionally, and going forward into the future. It is a very critical trading partner, it's a very critical ally for us. We are also in the same block of nations, BRICS, together with Russia. Where does the ANC go from here?
Well, I don't think that the solution is very simple, like actually removing ourselves from the ICC. I think it is the beginning, actually, of South Africa being big in the world stage. It should be the leader in actually making these other countries face the justice and making the ICC very accountable in making these institutions very viable. It should actually be the ones who are the leaders to not make the ICC very discriminatory in terms of who they prosecute and who they don't prosecute. As we are part of BRICS, it is the nations who are actually coming up. I think we should be not told by US to do anything or by the West to do anything. It is time for us to actually be the ones who set the agenda.
I think also on that point, right? Whatever the decision of the ANC is going to be with the matter of arresting Putin or not arresting Putin, I think it's going to just give us a direction as a country as to who do we pledge allegiance with. I mean, we've had BRICS, that would be your Brazil, your China, your Russia, that's us, right? We've got India as well. But we've always had the West, your UKs, your Britain, your America as well. We've always danced around the idea of being with them, as if they are our allies. But I think now the ANC is faced with a very difficult task of saying, pick a side. Choose now. Where is your bread buttered, or who are you going to go into bed with at this point?
It's a very difficult position.
In terms of choosing a side, that's specifically what I'm saying. In terms of this is the time not to actually go with sides. We the ones that must actually set the agenda. If West wants to be our friends, let them be our friends. If China wants to be our friends, let them be our friends. But enemies of our friends are not our enemies. If you want to be enemies alone.
Which is something very critical that we are saying. The Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Honorable Naledi Pandor, said the very same thing that we are saying now. That we cannot become automatic enemies with other people at the behest of other nations.
Yeah.
That's what she said.
That could be true, but it's not as easy as said than done.
Yes.
It's easier said rather than done.
Yes.
Because if you're saying to the US, if you want to be our enemy, be our enemy. All paper it sounds like, but now when
we say we do not have enemies.
Right.
We do not have enemies. You are a friend, and these are people that are our friends as well.
Yeah.
You can fight each other, but do not put us in your fights. We will always be gentlemen. If you want to act like pigs, act like pigs. But we ourselves, we will not stoop to that level that you want us to stoop.
Gentlemen, I would like to draw a comparison between the ICC as well as justice served out by the African Union. The reason I would like to use it is that, take a look at America, gentlemen. The last time any two American generals went into conflict with each other was during the American Civil War.
Right.
They have never, after the American Civil War was done and dusted, there have never been any other American generals going at war for control of the country. In Europe, you look at Britain, the UK, the United Kingdom. When was the last time you heard that one general in the UK was fighting another general for control of the country? Look at Australia, look at New Zealand. When was the last time you heard two generals fighting over control for the country? But in the African continent, it seems to be a story that two generals or two political parties are fighting for power, where now it's full-blown war, where the people suffer the most. Now, when you look at the ICC and the African Union, which body is best placed to stop this nonsense of conflicts in Africa? Can we stop those conflicts ourselves at the African Union? Can that be said? When we have had over 10 conflicts on the African continent in the last 10 years alone, but we never see conflicts between two parties in Europe, in America.
Well, these organizations, in terms of African Union and their importance, the African Union, there was like a pandemic about 3 years ago. Did you hear anything from the African Union?
Of course.
It seems the African Union is just a body that's under an umbrella body of the UN and everybody else. The African Union cannot make its own decisions. It cannot facilitate anything in terms of conflict.
Yes.
In terms of Africa having generals, it is, the thing of colonization. After colonizations, they had separated many African nations, African people.
So what you're just trying to say is that we are still suffering the effects of colonization.
Imagine in terms of the real reason, even here in South Africa, of apartheid,
Yes.
to separate us in these homelands.
Yes.
They cause us go to Eastern Cape, Zulus, whatever. Was to, if we stay for long enough,
Together.
separate in those conditions.
Yes.
If ever there was going to be Mandela going to be president of South Africa, if we were so separate and the Zulus were going to say, I'm not going to be run by a Xhosa. Sutus are going to say, I'm not going to be run by a
So there's
Xhosa.
power in separation
Of people,
Yes.
So that is basically what is happening
So we're still suffering
in Africa.
In Africa. In closing, gentlemen, as we close off the debate or topic today, gentlemen, the ICC, what can you say about the ICC in closing?
In closing, I think the ICC, the mandate or the reason why we have the ICC, those are very good and very valid reasons.
Yes.
War has broken out. A lot of people that have nothing to do with that war, but they find themselves in that region, have suffered. And we need some body like the ICC to hold people accountable, because those people are not just anyone or a commoner. Those are people in power who have real power and who can kill, who have killed people.
Yes.
But I think them being selective is really what I have a problem with.
Yes.
Right?
Selective injustice.
Selective
Yes.
injustice, to say, okay, this one, there is war crimes, we hate war crimes.
Yes.
But because they are done by this person, it's fine.
Right.
But if they are done by that one, no.
Then it's a tricky issue.
That's where I have a problem.
Mr. Blum?
Yeah, no. ICC as an organization,
Yes.
how it was actually created, it is a good concept. It is there to protect citizens from very gruesome murders, crimes against them, rapes, because it does happen in war regions.
In fact, I read a report from the government of the United States that some 900, I think it was 900 American soldiers were found guilty of crimes against humanity in terms of rape and so on and so on when they led that invasion of Iraq. But gentlemen, finally, now coming back home here in South Africa, it is yet to be seen whether the ANC will actually discharge its mandate from the ICC to effect the arrest of Russian President Vladimir Putin. Ellen Windy and the DA in the Western Cape is leading his own campaign for whatever reason you don't know, but they still fall under the yoke of the national government. Closing?
Closing, I want to ask you, arrest Vladimir or do not arrest Vladimir?
Well, look, as a legal practitioner myself, when I sign legal documents, those legal documents are binding. We have signed the legal documents to that effect. Now, it's either you are going to enforce what you have signed, or whatever you sign is not what the paper is written on. So, legally speaking, as a legal practitioner, I want any legal document that I sign to be binding and enforceable. So, the South African government has signed onto the ICC, has signed onto the Roman Statute. So now they want to break the Roman Statute. I know for a fact they've already broken it when they failed to arrest the former president of Sudan, Omar al-Bashir. They've already broken those. So I don't think the ANC-led government will arrest President Putin. Mr. Tiro, closing?
I don't think anyone is going to arrest Putin. Anyway,
Yes.
Let alone South Africa.
Yes.
Ellen Windy, I don't know about him, but there are no plans of Putin going to Cape Town anyway.
And even if he
did,
yeah.
I think Ellen Windy is just going to enjoy his 5 minutes of fame,
yeah.
but there's nothing that is going to come out of it.
Yes.
But to answer the question, to arrest or not to arrest,
Yeah.
I think we should arrest him, but we won't arrest him.
Of course.
For me, we shouldn't arrest Vladimir Putin. As you say, you're a law practitioner. Every law is meant to be challenged to see if it's fair or not.
I see.
So in terms of some laws, we will have to challenge them when the time comes. So yeah, that's my ending.
We'll see where this story ends up, gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us today on the Big Deal gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr.
There was another episode of the Big Deal right here on the Legal SA. Thank you very much for joining us. Please subscribe to the channel and follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at the Legal SA. Thank you.